Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock, my usual time, and welcome to the Scope. Hey Angie, hey Gina, good to see you guys. Hey Indra, thanks for being here. Oh, there's some of Indra's favourite coloured hearts there. Good to see you. Hey Jane, you got your favourite colour, how perfect is that? Good afternoon Angie. Saying afternoon to me. Angie, are you in the States? Are you morning there really? Yeah, got my coffee. Oh hi Dave, good to see you. I'm glad you're on today. Big part of my story is what we've talked about, so I'm going to cover that. New York, the Big Apple. Great. Breathe. Inda's saying breathe because she knows to share this. There's a lot on here today that I'm going to share that I'll probably share different bits at different times in different ways, but I've not really laid it all out before, and so I'm a little bit I don't know, nervous I guess. It's exposure, isn't it? Daddy Cool Beans, there's a name. So my name's Hard Finding Good Quality Men. Yes indeed. Yeah, again that's a big part of my story. I'm going into that. So I normally scope at 2 o'clock on all sorts of things, and thank you Indra. Mostly about non-personal awareness is what I do, but Indra said to me, you know, you've shared an awful... Let me turn it around actually so you can see me. There we go. There we go. There's me out in the garden, and yeah, she said to me, you shared a lot of really good stuff, but I'm not sure people really know how you got there or where you came from or any of your life story. So why don't you do a scope or some scopes on, you know, where you come from and what you're about and what's got you to where you are. Looking to have... We are indeed, Dave. I definitely want to do that at some point in the next month or two to organise something quite substantial in that department. So I thought about it, and I thought actually I can probably break it down into sort of 3 different parts really. I've called it kind of getting personal, seeing as I'm Mr. Non-Personal Awareness. And if you haven't met me before, my name is Joel Young. I'm the creator custodian of Non-Personal Awareness, the MPA process, which is a simple way to stop taking things personally. So I thought over the next 3 days, today I want to talk about sort of my struggles, so kind of where I've come from, the things that have happened in my life that have caused me to do what I do and understand what I understand and share what I share. Tomorrow I want to talk about my search, because out of the struggles is what kind of struggles I'm going to go through them. I'm going to lay it out. Blue hearts too. Hey Mo, good to see you on my scope. Hey Sonam, good to see you. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about the search. So from the struggles, obviously I've gone on a path of awakening. I'm going to talk about how that looked for me and what my experiences were. And then on the 3rd day, will it make you cry? Well, you never know. That is my ambition. So on Monday, then I want to talk about sort of my purpose really. So out of all of my struggles and my search, it's come to what I do now. So I want to talk then about sort of how MPA came along and where that fits into the whole thing. So there we go. So let's just dive in, because I'm a bit nervous. It's interesting really, because I have shared these bits before. I want to lay it all out for you. Okay. So when I thought about it, I thought, you know, I'm not that special really. I'm special because I'm me, but really a lot of the stuff that I've been through, I'm going to guess that in some way, there's some specific things you may not have experienced, but there's kind of themes that we go through as humans. And so I thought, well, what are my main themes that sort of have been around in my life experience? So I kind of laid it down to sort of 3 plus 1. And I want to sort of lay out where that's come from and what those struggles are. One thing I do want to say is that this isn't a sob story. What I'm going to tell you, because I really do get the gift and the necessity in terms of my life path of me having been through these experiences. And I know from working with so many people over the years that, you know, on a subjective level, there's many people have experienced things that, you know, many would get around and say, well, they're much worse, if you like. But I do believe that sort of suffering and experience is really a subjective thing. So we never have a contrast. So we only have our own lives, and so suffering is suffering. It's made you who you are. So I get that from the start. So the first thing I want to talk about is one of the main themes in me growing up is a theme of neglect. So what that comes down to is what I took. You love the person that's coming to the other side. Yeah, me too. Me too. So neglect is what I've taken from neglect is, or what I took really. I don't have it now, but is I don't matter. And it's really my sort of experience of that was my parents were very young. Just so you know, I've completely forgiven them for all that I thought they did. So for me, I was a classic latchkey kid. So my parents were, when I got up in the morning, my parents were gone to work, so let myself out, go to school, come back, they're not there, take care of ourselves. There was me and my two sisters. And they were just, I mean, if I look back at the time, they were really just, again, just kids. I think they were unwilling parents in a way. They did love us, and I wasn't treated specifically badly by them, but you know, there's things that happened, like they would party a lot, my parents, and they'd go down to the pub and they'd leave us in the car for 4 hours, bring us out a Coke and a bag of crisps, and that was our lot. So that was the kind of thing that sort of that was kind of regular occurrence. Okay, so emotional neglect. Yep, exactly. So in a way, to me, it comes hand in hand there, Harlow, is you've got there's a level of emotional neglect that's there. I would say that we kind of knew that we were loved, and one of the things that I'll come on to in a minute is how my father was very absent, so I didn't have that kind of male role model, and when he was there it was very scary. So so that was part of it, and I thought, well, what were the effects, or what are the effects of neglect? There's something actually that Indra shared with me recently. There's I think it was the Emoto guy. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Indra. Yes, back in the day, relate only we didn't have a car. Yes. Well, I think back in the 70s, the early 70s, it was much more the way. I mean, nowadays kids get kind of you know, in a way mollycoddled, but wrapped up. Yeah, parents wrapped up in their problems. Absolutely. But one of the things that Indra told me recently was with the rice challenge. So I think it was, there were three glasses with rice in it. I think, if I'm getting this right. Hey, Christine Yenta, good to see you. And one was sort of given loads of anger, one was given loads of love, and one was completely neglected. And what they found when they looked at the crystals of the water and the way the rice grew is that the one that was given loads of love thrived. The one that was given loads of anger, hang on a minute, let me just block that idiot there. The one that was given loads of anger was, I can't remember exactly how it came up, but it wasn't very nice. But the one that was the worst was the one that was neglected. So what that showed is, in a way, neglect is one of the most deeply damaging energies. It's all part of showing the water holds energy. Yes, I love Dr. Emoto's theories. So I thought, well, what was the impact on me of sort of growing up in that environment where there was sort of, you know, there were kids, they would sort of just really want to party and be hippies, really. And I think the way that it affected me mostly was in my self-worth. Black and mouldy, yes, I think it is. Pie water. So I think the things that affected me was self-worth. I had a very low sense of self-worth. Hi, Wendy. It really affected my sense of self-care. You know, I had no model of looking after myself, even though in a way I'm very independent and can do a lot of things myself. As a result, Casper, now's not the time to play, sweetheart. It's not. No. Got Casper down here. He's after his ball. I don't know if you can see him. Don't tell me you're gay as well. Okay, I won't. But if I see you again, I'm going to block you. And feel free. I'm up with, especially today. If you see any trolls, just tell them to piss off. I'm not interested today. What if he is nimpty? So what were the effects of neglect? For me, self-worth was really damaged. The sense of self-care and self-respect, which really showed up later in life when I got into alcohol and drugs in a really big way. And also, it really, one of the things that the whole thing that I don't matter, and I work with a lot of people on who experience the I don't matter thing, and I find that their self-expression is incredibly blocked. Hang on, blocked, he said. Hang on, wrong one. Where are you? Fuck. Block user. There we go. I kept hitting the wrong person. It's moving up. So self-expression is something that gets really impacted by that, because I grew up as like the invisible boy, I often call it, because I would often, I've talked about this before, but you know, I'd share something in a conversation and it would be as if I'd said nothing really. The conversation would move on. And I realise now that it's because my energy really wasn't there, because again this sense of, you know, I don't matter was being reflected. Sometimes if you take on these identities, which is where, you know, MPA comes in really well, if you come into these identities, then they will reflect back to you from the outside world. The other thing that happens to me from the neglect, wish we met as kids, you're going to make me cry, was emptiness. My life has been marked by emptiness and loneliness, and one of the real responses to that is to try and fill the emptiness with various things, like ghosting on a scope. Yeah, ghosting on a scope, true. So I would use alcohol, drugs. I could try to use women, but I wasn't very good at it back then. Back then, he says. And then seeking is the other thing, is like constant seeking, which in a way got me onto my spiritual search, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But these are the things, it's like this hollow emptiness inside, this sense of who am I, what am I don't really matter anyway. And this whole sense of, this whole cycle of suffering and searching goes into place. You're invisible anymore, Joel. People love you, we see you, we notice you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things, Harlow, that I have really, you know, I feel so lucky, because out of all of this, something inside of me was able to go, I'm willing and able to do something about it. When I came across, which we'll talk more about on Monday, when I came across sort of personal development, spirituality, I went for it like you wouldn't believe. And I didn't just do it like a pastime. I did it for real, and I've done it for real my whole life, well, since I started doing it, and I feel very blessed in that. And then I have the ability to share it, which is another complete blessing. So I feel very lucky, and I'm a completely different man. I was showing Indra some photos of me when I was younger the other day, and it's just like, oh my God, who is that guy? It's like, yeah, I'm. It's not that I wasn't there; it's just I wasn't able to come out. That was the thing. Like Tolly says, always suffering can lead to enlightenment. Yeah, one of the things I'm really big on is lean toward happy. Now, I know your name. I know your name. Hang on. Roz, got it. There you are. I knew it. You're such a beautiful voice. Your energy is enigmatic. Much love. Oh, thanks, Mo. Okay, so I feel very lucky and very blessed that I can share it. Okay, so one of the main themes for me has been neglect, and that's kind of the history of it. The other thing for me has been sensitivity. So I came into this life being a very sensitive boy. I hardly know you, must recognise how worthy you are of our attention. Thank you. Where did you get that mug, Joel? So cute. Well, I'm at my sister's place, so this is one of my sister's mugs. It's a big, I like a big mug of coffee. I thought I'd have a big mug of coffee with me today. Very milky coffee. Hey Marion, good to see you, and thank you for sharing. So yeah, the second theme that I've really highlighted is sensitivity. So I came in a very sensitive child. When I was young, I would cry very easily, and I would take things very much to heart. As big as my face, yeah. Casper, I'm busy, and I'm not going to play. You can come up here, but that's it. Oh, he's after the ball. He's a terrier. He's always about the ball. You're amazing enough to pass the tests. You know how to help others, a real man. Well, thank you, Dave. That's good. That's really beautiful coming from you. Casper, no. I'm going to have to put you indoors. So yeah, sensitivity. So one of the ways that I was sensitive was I was very sensitive to energies. In a way, having thought about this, I've often wondered, where does the whole not taking things personally thing come from that I now teach? And really, I think it comes down to my sensitivity. I would take everything very personally. And I take things very much to heart. Sizes matter when it comes to coffee size. Indeed. Actually, it's not the size of the cup, is it, Harlow? It's just what you do with it, isn't that right? We'll get on to sexuality in a minute. The sensitivity. So, and what I noticed was, because I was very sensitive, I was able to sort of pick up on what was really going on. But the thing is, in my household, what was going on really wasn't what was being said. I really grew up in a house which was full of denial. My parents were at war all the time, but it wasn't, occasionally it was big out and out war, but most of the time, keep telling yourself that, sweets. I don't need to tell myself that. That's for other men. Oh dear, no, we really are getting on it. We are going to get on to sexuality in a minute. But anyway, sensitivity. So really, I grew up in a house where there was so much going on that I could feel, but wasn't being spoken about. There were affairs happening, there was this sort of trench warfare, there was so much anger and stuff happening. And so it became very hard for me to understand people. It was like, I understand people, but it's like I didn't understand why nobody was talking about all the shit that was obviously happening. And so it's a kind of, and in a way, what happened is when I would think about it or speak about it, it was constantly denied. So yes, there was a lot of that, and so it was like my instincts were denied, so I learned to suppress and ignore and became very bad at listening to my instincts. My intuitions were suppressed. Always like, oh, maybe not. I'm sure that's not true. La, 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 la. And so over time, it really became very confusing. So the effect of that kind of living in this, when you're a really sensitive person in a house full of lies, really. Well, hey, Spin Gnome, good to see you. Sounds like you were living in my wardrobe. Well, I said at the beginning, I think this is probably, my story isn't that special. But I hope it can connect with you really, and you can sort of get something from it. So out of the sensitivity and living in a house of lies, yet confusion and incomprehension were two of the things that I really think were important. They also, I think, caused acute social shyness, which also links into the I don't matter. So I've always been able to perform. I can get up on stage. I've played music since I was very young. I can now speak to you like this. But when I was very young, I was very, very shy. I was so afraid to go and talk to people. And all, not now, absolutely. So that's an impact of that. And also, I think what's often missed on this is I had a really distorted sense of truth, which to this day I'm still working on. In recently, especially, been working on speaking my truth and really, really being honest. What's special is that you are speaking up. I've missed the rest, but thank you. Another thing that I guess I've looked at as what was the impact of that was conflict avoidance. Yes, my abuse caused me to have social anxiety disorder. Okay, we're going to talk about abuse too in a moment because that's part of my story too. So, so a lot of my life I've very much avoided conflict. That shyness, the sensitivity, taking everything personally is not a good recipe for facing conflict. Having a step-parent made matters worse in my case. I felt, okay, great, I hear that. It helps others feel validated. Thank you, Yenta, it does. So that's kind of strain 2 of my, oh my goodness, Joel, you are the male version of me. Oh yeah, that's good. So to crack on, so the main 2 so far, neglect and sensitivity, and living as a sensitive in a very challenging environment. So the third strain, I guess, that's come through me, and as I've really noticed it as my healing path, is sort of sexuality and remasculation is really what I would call it. Yes, that's very true, Marion. I have no illusions that what I've experienced and what I've faced is also, you know, within you guys too, in some maybe different situations, but fundamentally we're just human beings, right? So I want to talk a bit about sexuality and remasculation. So when I was a kid, my mum was also a very, very fierce feminist. My view these days is that there's some aspects of it where, and I'm very much pro equal rights and all that stuff, but she was also really fucked off with my father, which I think was a part of the equation there. So my father wasn't around much, really. He was just a workaholic. So we barely saw him. When we saw him, he was incredibly angry. My mum really gave me the impression, I often say to really own this, it's like the translation I took from my mum about men was it was a really bad idea to be a man, because clearly they were shit. You were taught how to recognise ego on your way to corral it. Yeah, I think that's true. So I had this feminist mother, this angry father, and I was incredibly sensitive. And then the thing that really sort of men suck, that was the message that I got. Then when I was 7, okay, I want to talk about this one. So when I was 7, I started to experience sexual abuse. Thank you, I'll breathe. And in a way, often I talk about, when I do talk about this, I have that sort of thing. I go against my own teaching in a way that suffering is relative, and you know, you only have your own experience. So I've kind of specialised in sexual abuse and different forms, you know, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, all those kind of things for many years, and I'm very good at helping people with it. And I've worked with people that have been sexually abused in so many different and horrific ways that I often look at my own experience and think, well, you know, was it really abuse? These kind of things. But the truth is, it was. So what happened for me was just that in a way I was bullied into it by a girl who was about I don't know, 5, 6. She was so she must have been in her early teens, and basically threatened to beat the shit out of me if I didn't do all these things. And because I didn't matter, because I had no self-worth, because you're supposed to do what women tell you to do, because that's the respectful thing that men do, was the message I had, I said yes to it on some level. So it lasted about 2 years, and one of the really sort of crystallizing events for me within that was, at the same time, I mean, and I've got to say this, I've always been a sexual being. I've always had strong sexual energy. When I was like 5, I was chasing around, you know, doing kiss chase, and I'd up it to what I call willy chase. I just wanted to show my willy off to the girls. I was playing doctors and nurses, all those things, which is actually quite a common trait of people who experience sexual abuse, is they have strong sexual energy anyway. So it's sort of, that's why in a way those people that are the abusers sort of, they pick up on that sexual energy, and then they really, that's then the mixed message happens, and they feel it's somehow permission, but it's not permission. So then, so at the same time that I was experiencing this, my dad had some really hardcore porn magazines stashed in his drawer, and because they weren't around before school, of course I'd managed to find them. I mean, it was really full-on stuff, and I was inviting some of my friends in on the way to school to show them these sort of hardcore Swedish porn mags, which I enjoyed. Then one day, my friend, who I'm still on Facebook with now, he'd gone off, and my sister asked, where's Joel? And he said he's upstairs looking at nudie mags. So my sister told my mum, and then my mum, this is my middle sister who I'm with now, Nicola, told my mum, and then mum and my elder sister, who, bless her, had to take care of us from 4 years old, and so she was like mum sergeant major, and they sat me down at the table, and they read the right act, and what they were saying to me was, women don't do this kind of thing. You have to respect women. This isn't really whatever happens. And the fact that you would like it or enjoy it is a really bad thing. And that was happening at the same time as another woman was threatening to beat me up if I didn't do all that stuff. So it was an incredibly confusing experience. It was a very strong experience, and I'm really aware that everything shut down at that point. And what I took from that really was that, well, really that it's bad to be a man. Trains collided, absolutely. And all through school, I was such a timid boy. I mean, I had all this sexual energy, but I was, I remember throughout secondary school, which I think is like your high school, I was so withdrawn from women, although I really wanted to have that. I remember I went out with a girl for a year and she finally dumped me because she said, you're not making any moves. There was no masculinity happening in there at all. Because what I'd taken from it is, you can't touch a girl unless you've got a contract signed in triplicate. And it really fucked with me over really for many years. So so in a way, if I look at that, it's been one of my biggest journeys is refinding my masculinity, and I think the sort of the effects of that on my life, and this is what I see with people who have experienced this, is totally a suppression of my masculine energy. It caused me to leave my body in a way, which is also part of the I don't matter thing. You've done it now. Thank you, Indra. But also, again, all of my experiences with which I'll talk about tomorrow in my search, drugs and alcohol and just wildness, was part of that. I totally had a fear of men. This is interesting. Again, Dave, if you might relate to this, is when I grow up, I want to have the balls you have. The cock and balls, sir. The cock and balls. My dad did something to do with me, with my sexuality. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's very true, Melissa. Actually, I've seen it happen in reverse. With that, I've worked with a lot of women who are. Thank you, Yenta. But Melissa, I've worked with a lot of women who whose fathers wanted to have a boy, and they've had exactly the same thing with their femininity suppressed as well. So I've seen that it can work both ways. So yeah, so suppression of masculinity, leaving my body, drugs and alcohol, fear of men. I was going to talk about fear of men. I had an experience. I was at the School of the Work of Byron Katie, and I realised that over my sort of personal development career, I'd always sought out women to work with, cross-processing, that kind of thing. And that's when it dawned on me that I was shit scared of men. Of course, I had an angry father who wasn't there, and I had all this stuff around. Are you guys able to see my comments? Yes, I can, Max. Sorry, I'm not being very good with comments today, just because it's strong for me to share this as it is, so I'm catching what I can. But thank you for being here. So actually, I really worked a lot at the School for the Work. I come across Byron Katie. She's amazing. I'm really fell in love with men again, which in a way is falling in love with my own sense of masculinity, which is when my second marriage went to shit. I guess being a man wasn't a good there, but there you go. I also had an overdeveloped sense of responsibility to women. That was another impact of that whole thing in my life, and was really unable to sort of again speak up for myself, going to avoiding conflict and all of these things. In a way, lying because. And again, I'm going to be clear about that. I mean, I wouldn't say I was lying in the usual sense, but if you're telling a half-truth or you're slightly hiding something, then what I've really learned, especially later, is that is lying. So that's why I used that word there. But mostly it was I would tell myself, I was told having sex was bad, like bad. Okay. So April, I again, that's something I totally understand. And I want to say that the reason I'm here speaking this is, well, apart from being encouraged beautifully by Indra to do it, is that I do recognise that I'm a completely different person. I'm not perfect. I'm not, I'm still just a man, just someone who's here. But I can acknowledge in myself that I have come a million fucking miles from all of this shit. So I know to my very core, if you're willing to commit to it, if you're willing to get the help, if you're willing to really face those demons and to face the pain, because there's a lot of pain in there, it will pass and the true you will completely emerge. That's why I do what I do. It's why I do all of what I do, because if I can do it, you can do it. So the other thing about the sort of sexuality and the remasculation, inauthenticity, that's not, I've looked at, yeah, so part of that is the kind of line, the withholding, not being yourself. And also that I got the sense that it's not okay to be me, and I'm fucking glad I've got over that one. But I see that in the people I work with who've had any kind of similar path with, especially with sexuality or with, you know, being themselves, being a woman, being a man, whatever it is that's them. I do see that sense of it's not okay to be me, and I absolutely know that that's one of my true passions, is to help people to understand that it is okay. No one is perfect, so you are not in that boat alone, Joel. I totally agree with that, Marion. You know, I've had the privilege of sitting with some, you know, some amazing masters. One other thing I want to say, I've no idea how, overarching all of these. Oh, I'm so pleased, Melissa. Yeah, it's the internet's a bit dodgy here, but I've got 4G when it's not there, so it should be okay. So I want to talk about the overarch. Oh, you know what I didn't do is close all my other apps. That was a bad thing. Energy blowing the circuit. Yes, Roz. Let's see if it's stable now. I don't know if I can turn other things off while I'm on here. I could try. Let's see if that works. Things open. No wonder the signal's not been great. Okay. Hopefully you didn't lose me. Okay, so the overarching, I can still see your comments, so I'm curious why that's happening. Oy, oy, oy. I might move actually a bit closer. I'm going to move a bit closer. Let me do that. Refresh. Alright. I don't know if you still got me. I'm close to the internet here, so that might work better. How's that? Is it more stable? Yay! That's better. Good. Okay, well, I'm coming to the end. Theme really has been relationships. There's a thread that goes through all. Oh, you're all losing me. Come back. Where have you gone? So the overarching thing is relationships, and I've noticed that all of my life has been focused around relationships. And I want to talk to you about that on Monday, especially because MPA, the heart of MPA, is relationship. Is it gone for everyone? I don't know why that is. There you are. Are you back? Am I back? Let me know I'm back, because otherwise I'm talking for no reason. I can see all your comments. Okay. Just, can someone let me know? Indra, can you let me know if you can see me again? You made it back. Okay, great. I'm glad I didn't interrupt it, because you can catch the replay there. Periscope it pooped the bed there. Okay. Are we in? Are we in? Can you see me now? Okay, good. It may be because the internet here sometimes just skips out, and we've gone for 5 minutes. Really? Oh my god, I've been talking into thin air. Looking lovely. So I guess what I've just covered in the last 5 minutes is that the overarching theme of all of it, through all of it, is relationships. Within every aspect of that is relationship to my parents, relationship to myself, relationship to women, to men, to myself, all of these things. I said myself twice there. And that goes to the very heart of what non-personal awareness is about. The MPA process in non-personal awareness is about changing your relationship to the stuff that you experience. And we're going to talk about more about that on Monday. So it's starting to get patchy, so I'm just going to round up. I guess what I want to leave you with today is firstly gratitude for staying with me and listening, for your support. That has been double helping of kindness on yourself. Thank you for sharing it. If you feel this will help, if you haven't shared it and you think that this scope will inspire someone else, help someone else understand that they can come through it, please do share it. That would mean a lot to me today. And here's what I guess I'm going to leave you with. Here's where I'm at today with all of it. I matter. It's not personal. and it's more than okay to be myself. So with that, I shall hopefully see you guys tomorrow well, I will be on at 2 o'clock tomorrow. I'm going to continue with my expose. I'm going to talk about my search. Out of this struggle came a big search, and I want to talk to you about what my story of that has been. Love you guys too. Do hop on. There's Indra there. I don't know what the time is, but she comes on at 2:30, scoping from the woods today, and I will certainly be there. You fucking well mattered, y'all. I fucking do. I get it now. It's so wonderful. Oh yeah. Alright guys, love and blessings to you all. Really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock.